freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round one recap for this week's Wells Fargo Championship. Joining me to break it all down, Mark Immelman is here. Hello, Mark.
How's it, Rick? How are we doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Still got to pack for my trip to Wells Fargo tomorrow morning, but I had a good day. Did some podcasting, watched a little golf this afternoon. That was fun. So relaxing day was good.
I think we had a better day than some of the guys on the golf course did because Quail Hollow's got some teeth. The infamous Green Mile, 16, 17, 18 featured two of the three hardest holes on Thursday. But it's worth noting, Mark, that if you have to start on the back nine, so you have to play then in order 16, which is the third hardest hole, 18 during this stretch, which is the hardest hole. Number one's the second hardest hole, and then 2, 3, 4, they're all going to beat you up. So you don't even get to split them up if you start on 10.
Yeah, it's the truth. I mean, look, that golf course is really defined by its mean par fours and the difficult par threes, and that's what made the setup when we went there for the President's Cup last year so cool, because they rerouted the place. So 10, the par 5 was 16, 11 was 17, and then 9 was 18. So you got bashed early, 1, 2, 3, and then there was a slight respite, and then you got whacked there when you turned through the Green Mile, which was, I think it was like, I can't even remember the numbers, but it was
13, 14, 15 or something like that.
Yeah. And so the way it flowed was great. And in the President's Cup, it was nice to have those holes shown and have them. They always had a say-so in the match play results. And like you're going to see this year too, to your point, if you're playing that stretch, that's that 9 first and then turning to 1, it's hard. But they're going to have a say-so in the tournament again. I guarantee you that someone's going to do something special on the Green Mile Sunday afternoon, and someone's going to do something not so special, and it's going to influence the result.
We saw both types of those performances late on Thursday. We'll get to them in just a second, but let's start with the early wave out of the gate. Kevin Streelman. I think you can classify Kevin Streelman as a true journeyman on the PGA Tour. 5 under 66. Mark, I'm looking through his results. He has one top 20 this year. It came in Las Vegas at the Shriners. It was exactly a T20. So it has not been a glowing year for Streelman, but he can turn that around in a hurry with a great finish this week.
Well, he has had 3 top 10s at Quail Hollow, and he went to school at Duke University. So he's familiar with North Carolina golf, which is kind of tree-lined, Bermuda grass, very undulating. So there's an element of comfort around there. And from what I'm led to believe, I feel like he may have learned the game from one or other, not Scott Davenport, the head professional, but certainly someone at Quail Hollow. So there's a thread there that you can sort of draw back to just spending a lot of time around the area, being comfortable in North Carolina. And as we've always said on the show, comfort level allows one to swing free. And when you swing free, then you can make a few birdies if you make a few putts. Because when you're not playing well, like you referenced coming in here, then you're trying and you're working hard and you're almost helping yourself sometimes. You're trying to dig out of the hole so hard that you dig too much, kind of thing. And to go back to a place where you've had success, where you feel comfortable, you kind of get there and it feels good, right? And you see lines off the tee that fit your eye, and you hit 1 or 2 good ones. And then with these guys, they're so talented. Oftentimes it's just one good putt or one good shot or one good feeling away from finding something. And Streelman, throughout his career, has proved he plays tough golf courses well. He's played very well at Innisbrook. Has won down there. PGA Championship a couple of years ago at Kiowa, he was in the second to last group, third to last group, I think it was. So he can go the difficult places well because he's accurate. He's a good ball striker. So whereas it's surprising to see him there in a funny sort of a way, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, Streels, he can hit it. I'm not surprised he's up there.
Yeah, he struck it well on Thursday. There's still a couple guys out on the golf course, but top 20 in strokes gained approach for the round. And then around the green, he was great. Putter rolled that beautifully as well. 5 under 66 for Kevin Streelman. Same score for KH Lee. Mark, we've seen him pop right at times on the schedule, but I go back to guys who we talked about earlier in the week who got to play Quail Hollow as part of the President's Cup. And we talked a lot about, the Tom Kims and Jordan Spieth and all these other guys. And I don't think there was much talk about KH Lee, who had himself a decent President's Cup for the international squad.
He did. He was one of those guys in that team. If you had to say who were the stars, you'd hear Tom Kim and you'd hear Siwoo, and you'd probably hear Adam Scott, Cam Davis to a certain extent. But KH Lee had a wonderful President's Cup, and he was a real strong man. And when you have an event like that and you have some success at a place, it breeds more success. And you know me, I'm kind of maybe not the statistics guy that you are, but I watch trends, and I watch not just physical trends, but emotional trends too. And I'll never forget, way back, I spent some time with like a nutritionist and someone else that figured out biorhythms. And he said, human beings have mental biorhythms and you have emotional biorhythms. And he said, golfers, especially because there's more time between shots, if your mental biorhythms are low, but your emotional biorhythms are high, you can still do well. Now, obviously, if they're both high, then you're going to be good. If they're both low, then you aren't. And then he charted this and he showed me charts throughout the year. Everyone's biorhythms work the same way. Now, this dude, he's won the AT&T Byron Nelson twice this time of the year. And I wouldn't be surprised if he plays well there again. Now, granted, the course fits, but there's a little something about this time of the year that he seems to play well. He's coming off a decent outing, I recall, at the Masters. I don't think he's played sparingly since then, but it's just this time of the year, KH tends to play well. And you come back to a place where, man, the President's Cup was awesome, and it was emotional for all of them. And so coming back here, he must have felt like $1 million. Play some practice rounds with Siwoo and Tom, and you're reliving all this stuff. And all of a sudden, no matter how badly you hit it, you're feeling like you're on top of the world,
KH Lee leading the world in strokes gained mid-May, Mark. That's what we're looking at, I think, at this point. Yeah, that's not a bad call. Keep an eye on KH moving forward here. 5 under 66. Stop me if you've heard it before. We've got another one from Taylor Moore, who, let's not forget, grabbed his first victory on the PGA Tour just a handful of starts ago at the Valspar, the last elevated event that we had, a T11 at the RBC Heritage. He already had 3 top 15 finishes prior to that win earlier this year. Mark, Taylor Moore is feeling it, and he is finding something in his game right now.
Yeah. Look, I spent some time getting to know him and watching him play at the Heritage, the RBC Heritage, a few weeks ago. And I know his coach, Josh Gregory, very well. And Josh is very forthright with sharing information on what his guys are working on. So I said to him, because I was watching Taylor hit, and I'm like, I like this. He's well organized, strikes it well. He looks like he fights a hook shot, but he's managing that now. And so I'm like, what do you guys work on? And he goes, well, you're right about the hook shot. We're just trying to work, more connection into his swing so he can turn through the ball and not lose the thing to the left. And I can see him doing that now. But then he's like, we just logged hours on the greens. And he said the tip that he's using for his golf swing, which is to keep his left arm against his chest, he's essentially doing the same thing pitching and putting. So he goes, he just tries to lock that left arm and go back and forth and keep his head still. Simple as that. And he started to make more putts. And then he said something that was really curious to me. And it was kind of the lead in to the success at the Valspar. Because at the Players' Championship, this guy was up there. I don't know if you recall, right?
Yeah.
And he's in contention, and he flushed it in whatever round it was to get up there. And the next round, it's kind of payday almost. It might have been late Saturday or whatever. And he didn't play very well. But there was one situation where they were in the middle of the fairway. The breeze was variable, and he and his caddy were there back and forth between clubs and just chatter. And Josh said to me, he goes, Taylor Moore looks, pulls a club and goes. And he called them out afterwards, and he goes, listen, guys, too much talking. He said he goes to the caddy, he goes, listen, you give him the number. If he's undecided, you talk him one way or the other, but let him go. And so it became, their mantra was less talking. And then they did this, and he won at Valspar. Remember how well he played coming down the stretch?
It was great.
See club, pick it, go. And when he was contending again at RBC, when he left the range and he walked past Josh and me, Josh looks at the caddy and goes, less talking. And he goes, you got it. And he's playing with this freedom now where he's got the self-confidence. He's won. They pick shots, they go. There's no waiting around. He's impressive to me. And the more I watch him play, the more I become a believer.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he is fit. His game is strong. I'm very impressed with what he's been putting together, and another strong one here on Thursday. A couple of notables, Mark, before we move on to that afternoon wave. Rory McIlroy got out early this morning and had himself a full day. I mean, it was a little bit of struggles early in his round where he had to get up and down from greenside. He hit a couple of questionable bunker shots. He nearly knocked both him and Matt Fitzpatrick's ball into the hole on a par 3. I mean, this was a full day for the birthday boy. When the dust settled, it was a 3 under 68, but it was a hard working 3 under 68.
Yeah, there's something, guys like yourself and our friend Kyle, you guys work very hard to find extra information. And the one thing I did find on Twitter, believe it or not, was that he turns 34 today. Believe it or not, make me feel old. And he shot loops of 34 and 34. So, like, what are the chances? Okay. So that's an aside. Some folks will like that, the numerology of it. And he's big into that stuff. His lucky number is 2. So his number on the golf ball is 22. I think I've told you that before. Yeah. Anyhow, but I watched a Rory play this morning who looked like there was freedom about him. He looked like he was okay with bad shots. He looked like there was the freewheeling sort of a way of playing golf that he used to. And I feel like going back to the putter he had so much success with, that mallet style spider, I think it is, or whatever it was, I think was not a stroke of genius, because I'm not sure why he moved away from it, but it was good to go back and get that sense of I'm back, because I thought he made some nice putts. The putts he didn't make were hit well. It looked like he was freewheeling with a driver, which is when he's always his best. And the iron game was sound. It looked to me like, once again, it was Rory, because 68, whereas it was scrappy early, which you can understand. It's cold out. You're not feeling as flush as you should. It feels kind of funky. You haven't played in a while. So I can forgive the little hiccups early. But when he started to find his full flight, he looked good to me again today. And it was good to see.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you're talking about the freedom. The shot, I'm trying to look it was 15, the par 5, where he is that where he left it in the bunker? No.
What, on his first nine? On his first nine?
Yeah, it has to be earlier in his rounds. So he leaves one in the bunker and steps. The freedom that I was thinking about you talking about is he stepped right up, didn't really dwell on it, stepped right back up and knocked it stiff to 6 inches or whatever it was. And there was no capitulating. There was nothing. It was just, I got this. I got the right club in hand. I'm going to walk back up there and I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do it right.
That is the key, because, everyone's going to hit bad shots. Even Rahm, even McIlroy, even these stars. It's not the bad shot that's going to kill you. It's how you respond to the bad shot. And a guy that just gets up there, he sort of resets and goes, that is a guy who's confident and knows he can do it and believes he can do it. The guy who gets up there, then you see extra practice swings, then they're questioning and back and forth and thought. That's the guy who's a little unsure. And the key to all of this is as much surety as you can garner in a very unsure situation, which is golf. And that's where I said, look, he looked free, but I think a lot of that freedom was born from the fact that he was okay with some of the misses. Because, look, when you're playing golf and you're not sure why the miss shot's happening, it's kind of like shooting in the dark, okay? But if you know where it's coming from, if you know where the origin of the bad shot is, then if you hit a bad one, you're like, I'm cool. I know what the recovery, or I know what the reaction to that should be, physically or mentally. And he looks like he's there.
And yes, it was 15, second shot into the greenside bunker, left it in there, ends up making par, escaping with par. The
same bunker, indeed, that Tom Kim left it in. Yes. There's something about the sand there. They flash those bunkers there at Quail Hollow where they sort of, they wet the side so the ball always rolls down to the middle. Mm-hmm. And because there's that little element of moisture to the sand, if it gets raked up kind of rough, then you can get some funky lies in there. And in the same bunker, Tom Kim had the same thing. But it's a really simple bunker shot, so I'm sure, that sort of stuff happens.
Yeah, I did see a lot of guys taking an extra second and assessing that lie in the bunkers more than you would normally see, squatting down a little bit, bending down, making sure I understand the way it's going to come out. You noticed that a bit more this week.
Yeah, and when the sand's a touch on the moist side, the rake grooves leave wider grooves and the sand kicks up more. So you can see the ball sometimes nestle down into one of those grooves. So it's not a plug lie, but it's not going to be as clean as what these guys are used to hitting. And then when it says there's extra sand in there, it's always a guess as to how the thing's going to come out. Then they try and get cute and they hit the thing just enough, and then it's not enough kind of deal, as opposed to just saying, well, I'm going to give myself 5, 6, 10 feet beyond the flag and see what happens.
If you have the ability to get cute, Mark, with your game, you usually try to. That's why I never have that issue, because I know I don't have it in my arsenal. Rory McIlroy 3 under 68, one better for Patrick Cantlay. That is 4 under 67. As of this moment, it's 2 shots off the lead. We'll get to the leader here in a few minutes, but Patrick Cantlay is at it again, Mark. He's having a phenomenal 2023. He's doing everything but winning, and his first, I don't want to say it's his first loop with Joe LaCava on the bag. They've partnered up before, but now maybe more in a permanent type of scenario. These two were certainly had few problems around Quail Hollow.
I would argue, and I know it's a tough argument to make given how John Rahm has been playing, that Patrick could be one of the best players in the world. I know he's ranked real high, but just he does not have a weakness right now. He drives it long. He's fairly accurate. His iron game is marvelous. The touch on the greens is good. Perhaps he doesn't fill it up as much as many, but he never really puts a whole lot of stress on his short game. And around the greens, he's functional. And I could see not an urgency, but I saw more decisiveness about the way he went about it today. He never rushed, because Patrick Cantlay, he's fine with who he is. He doesn't give a continental stuff what people are saying about him and his pace of play. Right. But I did see someone more decisive today, and it proved fruitful. And on a golf course like this, with a game like he's got, I mean, this guy looks legit, and he is, no doubt, in my mind, a major champion in waiting. And maybe Joe LaCava is the key, but I will say this, and I've made the argument with Jimmy Johnson and Justin Thomas. You know, everyone's like, well, Bones showed up, so Justin's going to win a major. Jimmy was great. Matt Minister for Patrick Cantlay was sensational. But sometimes you just need something said a slightly different way. And that might be what Joe brings. And maybe because Joe's been on major championship bags like Fred Couples and Tiger and company, Patrick looks at this guy and goes, okay, he's been there. He knows what it feels like on Sunday afternoon late. So when he says something, I'm inclined to believe him because he's experienced it. Whereas he and Matt had won big events, but never won a major championship. And I don't care who you are, man. Coming down those holes and you're inside the ropes and you're a caddy and you're a player, it's real. And your heart's beating and you know you're alive. So if you've got someone who's alongside you who's been there, it brings a sense of comfort. And that's perhaps too what I might have seen out of Cantlay today, where it was a little more decisive, and he certainly was not playing aggressively, but he was playing assuredly, and it was nice to watch.
So far, so good for these two. They finished with a flurry, eagle on 7, birdie on 8, par on 9. They finished on the front 9, so 3 under in their final 3 for those guys. Okay, we've got the afternoon wave coming up, and we'll take a look at the current odds board. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
You should stay.
I didn't think that this is what we were doing. I thought I had this handled, and she shows up in my home.
If you tell someone to stop calling you the 20th time you pick up, what you've taught them is that 20 calls is what it takes.
I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
I did not kill that woman, and I'm going to prove it.
This is a wild game of survival.
And we're back. We capped the morning wave with Patrick Cantlay, and we'll now go to his partner in crime to kick off the PM wave. That's Xander Schauffele. And for 15 holes, Mark, the X-Man could not miss a shot. He got this thing to 7 under through 15, highlighted by an eagle on 10, but a little stumble around the Green Mile with bogeys on 16 and 18. Still a very good 5 under 66 here on Thursday.
Yeah, he's playing with so much self-belief right now, and to watch him put that round together through 15 holes was spectacular. But you know, there's a chance you're going to spill one coming in, and the truth of it is, I thought the tee shot he hit down 16 was majestic, and it just clips the bunker and stays in there, and then from there you're kind of playing defense a little bit, and then 18, that fairway looks like a ribbon down there, and you're going to make the odd bogey. And whereas that'll sting, that 2 over in the last 3 finish, if you had said to him 66, he'd go, sure, let's go. And he's going to play that second 9 as his front 9 tomorrow on fresh greens. He's playing beautifully. I mean, he's striking it fantastically well. The pace on the greens to me looked sublime. And so I feel like he just gets right back in the saddle tomorrow morning. And in, who knows, maybe calmer conditions. It is cold, so the ball won't travel. So the course will play longer. Who knows? This guy may build a pretty handsome lead tomorrow morning if he keeps playing the way he is right now.
He found that creek on the left-hand side of 18, Mark, which in reality, it's a tiny little creek. It shouldn't be that much of an issue. Yet the way the terrain is sloped around it, it's almost like a magnet, and the way that it runs up the entirety of the left-hand side of the hole, not only is it in play off the drive, but it's in play on your second shot. We saw a lot of guys, and one we'll talk about in a second, who wasted some balls in there.
Yeah. To me, it's more in play on the approach shots. But the thing about standing down in the fairway, and the green's a good 7-8 yards above you, you don't really see the water when you're playing up to the green. But when you're up on the tee and you're looking down, you see the thing over there. Now, the truth of it is, I could almost step over that stream in certain areas. Or, even me at 52, I could jump over the thing. And the rough on the left side of it is normally quite thick. And if you hit the ball there, it's not too often that you'll see a ball run down. But from the fairway, just the way the fairway cuts in, and I don't have my yardage book here, but right sort of at the 285 yard range, the fairway pinches in just a whisker. Because the stream doesn't make a straight line, it sort of turns inward a little bit. So it makes the fairway look so narrow. But when you get down there, you're like, this thing's so freaking wide. And so it's a visual obstacle off the tee. It's not in your sight line on the approach shot. But that's to me where you see more guys. You just, from that uphill line, the fairway, you want to hang back and you just tweak the club face some and the ball gets on those firm greens. You'll see a whole lot of balls there in the water for the second. But look, it's just it's a tough hole all the way around. You can't, unless the golf course starts playing very firm, you can't really gear down off the tee because you'll leave yourself a long club into that green. So you got to drive the thing. You just got to sack up and deliver. And once in a while, you'll hit it in there. And he came out in the end with a very solid bogey.
Yeah, it was a solid bogey indeed. And while Xander was spilling those shots at the Green Mile, it was Tommy Ladd who was making them up. Mark, Tommy, just as a reminder, still looking for that first PGA Tour victory. Eagles 7, birdies 8, gets another circle on the card on 14, and then he does what I don't think anybody... This might be the only time it happens all week. He birdies 17 and 18 to put a cap on a blemish-free 65. Tommy Ladd had it going today.
Man, the last time I watched him play was 2 weeks ago. And he wasn't playing. He was on the range and he was hitting. And I was standing there watching him. And so, he's working with Butch Harmon. So I said to him, all right, spill it. What are you, Butch, working on? And he goes, just rhythm, man. And I was like, come on, really? And he smiled. And he goes, no, really just working on timing and pace and sort of fundamental stuff. And he's hitting the ball. And I look at Ian Finnis, his caddy, who's like 6'5". He's a massive human being. And I sort of shake my head and smile. And Fino looks at me and he goes, it's good. This is as good as I've ever seen it, the way he's hitting the thing. Very tight pattern, slight right to left. He's added what he calls a mini driver to the bag. So he's got a driver. He's got this like beefed up or weakened 2-wood. It's a 3-wood shaft on like a 14-degree head, or 2-wood shaft. I don't know. Anyway, so it's a little bit more loft than a driver. He hits this thing like 275 on a string. He can hit it off the ground as well, and he just seems to have all of it going on right now. I think if Tommy's going to win, Tommy just has got to get past Tommy, because the physical gifts are there. The guy I saw hitting the golf ball. If I'd taken any of you strokes gain guys and you didn't know who he was, and I just said, watch this cat hit, you'd all say he's one of the best strikers in the game. That's the way he was hitting it when I was with him last.
Well, statistically, he did that as well. Showed in the stats as well. 12th in strokes gained approach on Thursday.
No, I'm saying the best, not 12th. I'm saying the best.
Okay, well, the 11 were statistically better, but we would have said with our eyeballs, he was the absolute best. Let's cap this with another President's Cup connection here with Tom Kim. And Mark, it was a 67 on Thursday, not a single bogey on the card. I think there were questions coming into this event whether Tom Kim would have the distance around a big ballpark like Quail Hollow. He's got Joe Scoverin with plenty of experience on the bag, and Tom Kim's got himself within the top 10 after one round.
Okay. I'm so glad you brought this up. I really am. And if I don't know about the archives, but I actually I want producer Josh to go back in the archives and find the show where I was disagreeing vehemently with Kyle Porter, who was making his whacked out case that this kid wasn't long enough because strokes gained said, or whatever, statistics. I'm like, Kyle, this dude is long enough and he's functionally long. And when you get him on the right conditions, he can move it out there. Did you see the tee shot hit down 15?
I did.
Yeah, he popped it past Xander, who is not short. And Tom Kim, I've said it to you guys, he's real. He putts it awesome. He's accurate as a rip, and he's long enough. Don't come and tell me he's not long. He's plenty long, and he can play big golf courses. The Masters, look, he was a couple under par at one stage. He sort of backed up a little bit, I think. But this is a game for all seasons, and he's got a lot of confidence, and he believes in himself. And that's a really sound start. And one of his other 2 PGA Tour wins came in the state of North Carolina. Similar sorts of conditions. The greens here are a little different, but Sedgefield is undulating. It's shorter. But again, like North Carolina golf, undulating, playing up, playing down. Ball moves a lot on the greens, and he dusted the field over there. So I'd wager a penny or two that he'll be around Sunday afternoon.
That driver he hit on 15 was 178 miles an hour of ball speed. I will also note that he was 25th in driving distance on Thursday out of 144. So plenty of distance, at least on this Thursday, Mark.
Exactly. Well, that's the point that I'm trying to make, because we can look at this stuff and go, okay, there's 24 guys longer than him, but as accurate as what he is, if I put him 310 down every fairway on a 500-yard par 4, he's got 190 left. For him, 190 is a jacked up 6-iron with a firm bounce on the greens. He is like not Morikawa accurate with irons, but he's accurate enough. And if you get him 6 irons and less into greens, this boy will wear you out. Remember the President's Cup tournament he had? That final hole on Saturday afternoon where Sam Burns has whacked the thing down, has got wedge into the final green, and Tom whiffed his tee shot and had 2 iron in there. Hit the 2 iron to like 6 feet. That's who he is. And when you get him in a place where he can, move it out there 315 or so, he'll compete with anybody. Did the same thing at the Renaissance Club, Scottish Open. Ball gets on the ground running. He was fine. He is plenty long.
I'm going to give producer Josh here a second to get the graphic in order for the betting favorites. But while we vamp here for a moment, I do want to note Jordan Spieth found that creek on 18 not once but twice today. Mark hit it off his tee shot, hit it off the second shot. It was a triple bogey 7 that kind of derailed his round. He was 2 under standing on 18T, so he's got some work to do on Friday if he wants to be around for the weekend.
Yeah, it was sort of a curious day because I'd been a believer about Jordan for the last little while. I picked him in one and done at the Masters, and I picked him in some of our betting cards to win events, and he was sort of contending. He is something's up with Jordan because he's hitting the thing long. I mean, when I was same thing when I was out there at Hilton Head, certain events you get to spend more time on the range than others, and he was talking to me a lot. More chatty than normal prior to the range, and he was flushing the thing and long as well. And he was saying to me, he goes, I just feel more comfortable with my golf swing. He goes, I typically find that I start off well in events and then the swing sort of regresses. Whereas at Hilton Head, where it was in the playoff, he goes, I got better during the week. And he just spoke about being a little tired there. But I'm still not concerned. I really am not concerned. Today was just one of those days where you get some difficult yardages. You're in between clubs. You miss 1 or 2 shots. You miss a few putts. I'm still a believer in where Jordan Spieth is, despite what we saw today.
Speaking of one and done, you and I are in the thick of it. You have Justin Thomas at 3 under. I have Patrick Cantlay at 4 under. A lot of money to play this week, Mark.
Hey, tell me, yes, I know there is. I'm less concerned with you
What?
than what I'm just saying that for you. We're friends. No, let's make this a thing. Let's get way in front of the field, which means that Cameron Young is not going to go very well, and he was not looking very sharp early in the round. What did he finish?
He finished at.
Because I saw a bunch of folks pick Cam Young.
Even T57.
So he brought it back a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he did. He made 2 birdies in his last 4 holes. Here's the show me the board, Josh, please.
While he's getting that up, I'm going to let you stew a little bit on where you think I'm going to use Cameron Young.
Okay, I will think about that. It's a pretty tight betting board, according to our friends over at Caesar Sportsbook. Xander Schauffele, the favorite, plus 550. He finished at 5 under. Rory McIlroy, 7-1. As mentioned, he's 3 under par. Patrick Cantlay, 4 under, 7.5 to 1. Tommy Ladd currently out in the lead, 6 under at 9 to 1. And then everybody else is 16 to 1 or longer. So it's obviously a stacked field. We've got a logjam of scores, and there's not a prohibitive favorite at this point of the event, Mark.
I think the favorite is the weather forecast, because if we don't get any rain, this place is going to be like a racetrack on Sunday afternoon. And when you get firm and fast greens around you, it makes targets play narrower. A lot of these greens, I wouldn't say they're old school drainage. They used to be where they perched up and they got these edges like a Pinehurst number 2, where the screen surface may say 6,000 square feet, but it plays like 5,500 because the edges repel balls. With some of the redesign, those have been cleaned up some, but still, if these greens, when they're above you, they bounce out and they go. And if you can't hit the ball high, I don't care about long, just high, you're going to have a tough time holding some of these targets. So with that being said, if we get a little rain, I heard there might be a chance of it, might be lying, then I think that might even out the field. But if it stays like I'm expecting it to be, then you look at the high ball headers. You look at McIlroy. JT can hit it quite high. I sort of like the guys who can really elevate those long irons.
I think the forecast that I saw was a chance of rain Friday night into Saturday, I believe.
That's what I thought I heard as well, because I'm busy packing right now and I'm trying to figure out if I must pack rain gear or not.
Yeah, you might want to throw some in there. All right. Where would you use Cam Young? So I think you're pretty high on Cam Young. I think you would want to use him at a big time event where he can lean into his strengths. You wouldn't use him as late as you wouldn't use him at the BMW because that'd be too late, right? So you are going to use him at. You're not going to use him at Oak Hill, are you? I think you're going to use him at Oak Hill.
Have you used him yet?
Stand by.
I think you have.
I feel like I have.
Yeah, because you fired out a whole lot of bullets.
I used him week 1. I used him at the Tournament of Champions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the fans? What about the fans?
The fans have him available.
Okay. And Kyle M?
It's getting strategic. Kyle M has him available. So Greg has used him. Kyle's used him. I've used him. Patrick has used him. Sia has used him. So it is Mark, Kyle, and the fans who have him available.
All right. Well, then I'll let them guess.
Sounded like Oak Hill to me. He's an upstate New York guy, right?
Okay, stop. We've already a couple of weeks ago recorded on camera bits because our producer wanted all the CBS announcers to have our pick to win. And so, yeah, I'm going with, well, on the CBS show,
I'm inside your brain, Mark.
On the other CBS show, I'm going with Cameron Young. Now, this one, I'm leaning toward him right now. Let me say that. No. The golf course was narrow. If you look at previous winners there, you had Tim Clark play well. You had Sean McKeel win. These were sort of dinkers. They'd put the ball in the play and sort of navigate. But Dottie Pepper tells me it's been opened up. It's been lengthened. I'm like, can you spray the thing off the tee? She goes, yep. And so I'm like, okay, I'm leaning there.
They removed like 200 or 300 trees or something like that and opened it up quite a bit. Okay, well, there we go. We got a lean from him 2 weeks early for the PGA Championship, but we still have 3 rounds of this week at the Wells Fargo to go. We'll be back after round 2, 3, and 4 to wrap this bad boy up. But for now, big thanks, producer Josh. Does all the hard work behind the scenes. Mark Immelman, available on Twitter at Mark_Immelman. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.